All right, let's just remind you of our breaking news since very early this morning. 9 people having been shot and killed, and 10 others injured at a tavern in Bekkersdal, at the Bekkersdal Tavern in Bekkersdal, which is west on Gauteng's West Rand. These are live pictures from Bekkersdal outside that establishment, where forensics teams continue to comb the scene of this violent attack that has taken place in that community. Community members speaking to us, telling us about their concerns about this violent attack which has taken place in their community. You see there, the forensics pathology van is now being brought in to this area where we believe the bodies that remain inside that tavern will be removed from there. My colleague Calvin Luja, who is on location, tells me that there are still some bodies that are inside the tavern. Of course, they cannot be removed until investigators have completed their work. And then there was also a vehicle a bit earlier on which was towed away by the South African Police Service tow truck division, which that vehicle will form a crucial part of the investigation into what happened at this devastating tragedy in Bekkersdal. There is quite a large police presence in that area. Police have indicated they're looking for 12 suspects. The motive for this shooting is not yet known, but what we do understand is that from some community members, of course, all this would need verification from the South African Police Service, would need verification in terms of some of the allegations that are taking place, some of the allegations that are being made, in fact, about alleged rivalry between different gangs in that area, which might have led to what spilt over at this tavern. But all that information, of course, would need to be verified with the South African Police Service in terms of what they know relating to preliminary investigations, which they are still conducting. Our colleagues will try to be as sensitive as possible there. I see the door is opening of that forensic pathology services. We'll try to connect with my colleague Calvin Luja in just about a moment, but it does seem like there are still some bodies, confirmed of course from my colleague Calvin Luja on location, that there are still some bodies that are on scene which will now be moved from there. A very devastating incident, a community in shock, a community living in fear, a community that is calling for intervention from the authorities, saying that they do not feel safe in their community. They talk about several other instances of violent crimes that have taken place in Bekkersdal, and they believe that at this particular stage, it's not sufficient what has been deployed to this area. It is not sufficient to have the local police station there. Mostly what this community speaks about is additional resources, in particular in areas where violent crime is quite rife. They have indicated that they'd even want the South African National Defence Force to be deployed to their area. This is a community that is living in fear. It is a community that is calling for help. If you've just joined us, 9 people shot and killed, and 10 others injured in a mass shooting in Bekkersdal on Gauteng's West Rand. Also coming up at 11 o'clock, we're expecting the Bafana Bafana coach, Hugo Bruges, as well as Captain Ronwen Williams to hold a press conference. As of course we head to AFCON, South Africa playing against Angola tomorrow. So ahead of that, we're expecting that press briefing at 11 o'clock today. The state of preparedness of the team, given that South Africa has also played well against Angola in the past. The fact that, the boys are ready to take on Angola once again. They'll certainly want to, at this particular time, put on a good showing in terms of, what the boys are capable of. And we look forward to certainly an exciting game of football. And South Africa is certainly behind Bafana Bafana as we take on Angola tomorrow. All right. With all of that expected and our live visuals from Bekkersdal, I think before we go to our next story, I asked my colleagues to put that up for you once again. We do see police officers moving a bit closer to the location of or the entrance or exit of that Bekkersdal Tavern in Bekkersdal. And I think they're just going to coordinate off a little bit to ensure that, some of what is being captured does not really show those bodies being removed from that scene. Absolutely devastating scenes and devastating words from community members who are expressing concern about what is taking place in their community. The forensics teams have been there since the very early hours of this morning. We're told that the shooting incident took place at about 1 a.m., but some community members say they heard some gunshots also go off at about 11:30 last night. And the shooting incident, according to the official police report, took place at shortly after 1 o'clock this morning. So you can only but imagine. It's a community, one of the community members who was speaking to my colleague, Calvin Dludla, indicating that they've not slept due to sound of those gunshots, what subsequently happened, police being called to the scene. They're concerned about the level of violent crime in their community and are calling for interventions from the authorities to try and intervene in an area. I see one of the other entrances and exits, the much bigger gate there towards your right, or my right in fact, has been opened. Some of the forensic teams, in addition to the ones that you saw or you're seeing here, there are others that have been combing the scene for any clues inside this particular tavern in Bekkersdal.